and you have to go down the rabbit hole with me for a second. A little knowledge is a very dangerous thing.
Yeah.
And I've spent 33 years going down every rabbit hole you can imagine. You have to connect the dots. You know, there's always the chance for an infiltration of a mole,
right,
or someone who's a counterintelligence operative, because it's very, very easy for people who are extremely busy, if you're a senator or a congressman or the White House, to rely on people you think you can trust,
right,
but you cannot. I think there are two big agendas here. The twin pillars of this secrecy. In 1991, a senior intelligence official reached out to me. I'm a young doctor. And he says, if you tell the people the truth, it is less believable than the fiction that everyone is believing, because it's more bizarre. It's more strange. And I said, yes, I know this. And this is a big problem, because it would be easy to stick with the narrative that's the false narrative. So you have these twin pillars of the secrecy. If someone were to write a novel on what happened on 9/11 with those towers falling, no one would have believed it. It would have been such rubbish. After it happened, people said, you wouldn't have believed this if it had been a novel. Everything I'm telling you is true, but it seems absolutely over the top unbelievable. Anyone who's gone to see the movie Alien or Independence Day, or Googled this issue on the internet, or gone to a UFO conference, or read a book about this, 90% of the information in there, unwittingly in most cases, is staged false events portraying extraterrestrial activity when it isn't. It's portraying the activities of this criminal organization that have the means to deceive very easily. Like the Marine, Mr. Herrera, who came across this big anti-gravity object offloading illegal weapons and also apparently human trafficking. He initially thought those crates were drugs, but a person who is a NOC who had been involved in those operations says, oh no, those crates are for people, and here's how we're using them, and here's where we're using them. We know that they're involved in running illegal drugs. That's how you get a lot of the cash. But the fact that there are innocent men, women, and children of a specific type, I don't want to go into it, certain capabilities that they take and are then used in these horrific projects. Most of them die in the process. That is going on. It is not a myth. It is real. It's criminal. We've recommended, and they've accepted, that there be a period of amnesty, that the very high value whistleblowers that may have done criminal activities, and we're talking in one case, chairman of a Fortune 100 company that's reached out to me, that they could come forward without criminal prosecution or seizure of their assets if they come clean and if they disclose fully and honestly. Now, the reason we need to do that is an eye for an eye is going to leave the whole world blind. If you hit the nuclear button on this, your adversary, the government of the United States, Great Britain, and every other country, this group has them outgunned in terms of technology. So you have to do this in a way that's very careful. There are very good people in that illegal black world that want to come out of the cold. I'm working with them. We're asking for not only amnesty for people who need it,
right,
but we're also asking for witness protection for some of these whistleblowers who feel they need it, and also protection of their pensions. And even though the Congress passed a means for these folks to give that information, it didn't have in the bill an explicit statement that they wouldn't have their pension. What we need the Congress to do is a more explicit series of protective mechanisms. So that's the next thing we're asking. So I think the reason we need to have, what did Eisenhower call it, an informed citizenry,
right,
who understands this and is a check and balance to these foxes in the hen house providing false information. What we want to have happen over the next 6 months or so is a process where this is being revealed to the people who should know. They then make a decision to protect the witnesses, but also they order these corporations and paragovernmental operations that are being run illegally to come in from their illegal status and be under proper control and supervision, or another action is taken. I've said this to the folks who are advising the Senate and the House, because I deal directly with them, is that you need to put these provisions in an amendment to the Defense Authorization Act that very clearly provides not only the protection for pensions and amnesty, but physical protection for the folks who want to come forward because they have families.
Right.
You know, some of them have children that are still minors. I will be very blunt. People like Lou Elizondo, he's a master of disinformation dispatched from the Pentagon to gaslight the American people and the US government and the media on this. We know this for a fact. The top CIA guy in history who's dealt with this issue contacts me periodically and said, as soon as that started happening, he says, oh boy. And he called it the Rat Pack, the usual Rat Pack that's going to gaslight the American people, the media, and the US government. Same thing with Chris Mellon. Chris Mellon was in there saying, gee, we don't know what these are. They're a threat to our national security. And I'm going, yeah, the man-made ones are a threat to our national security, and we do know what they are.